In a world where hopium and common sense collide, starring the CryptoKeeper and BlockchainCrusader. Welcome to Debate Crypto.
Question everything, trust nothing. It's a boy BlockchainCrusader. We're back for another TA Thursday here at Debate Crypto with the ones and onlys, Magic Internet Money and Gareth Soloway. How's it going, guys?
Always fantastic, man. Always happy.
Gareth, I think you might be on mute. I can't hear.
Oh, yeah.
There
you go.
yeah,
everything's good, man. Always fun to talk charts.
Nice, dude. Nice. I know the weather's. We're talking about the weather. It's freezing up there. We're still toasty and warm in Florida. But, it is gonna get cold. I hope everybody's buckled in. We're gonna have a fun night covering TA. Right, Christmas is right around the corner. We're a few days away. So I hope everybody's enjoying their holidays. Have gotten their traveling out of the way. So let's buckle up. Let's have a good night. Make sure you guys are following these guys. If you're here watching right now, these guys come on the channel every single Thursday to bring you great, amazing information that you won't get anywhere else unless you're following them personally and joining their Discords and their courses. So make sure you check out their links down below. But guys, Bitcoin, right? We lost 17,000, right? We had a little bit of hype, right, with the CPI numbers and whatever last week or so. We came back up to like almost 18. We've come back down. We're still at this 16.8. We've talked about going a lot lower. Are we prepared for the whole Christmas rally, right? Everybody talks about Christmas rally every year. Is that canceled for this year? Is the snow just stacked too high? Santa's not gonna make it home, and we're just no Santa rally this year. What's going on?
I mean, I feel like the rally kind of happened before this time. You got the rally already.
You rallied already?
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to think, if you look at the stock market, it rallied up to resistance. The trend line, or the regression as I call it, it's up there. It's hit that. Same with Bitcoin. It came back, retested the range. So you kind of got that a little bit early this year. Everyone was expecting it. It's not dead in the water by any means right now, in my opinion. But, there's some invalidation points that if you start breaking down from here, things can start looking for new lows. Just like, things could go to the upside as well. I just don't really favor that. As of right now, I was in an intraday long today, but again, it's an intraday long, and now I'm back to square one, looking to see what the charts are going to tell me.
So are we headed towards a slow bleed here with Bitcoin throughout the rest of the foreseeable future until we have this massive decision to the downside? And what are we looking for in particular for the downside to occur if we are going to keep heading down? Like, how do we determine, okay, we've been going sideways for X amount of time, but now here comes the break? Or is that just something unexpected that you just got to prepare for?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's mostly going to be generated. I mean, we've obviously have the FTX stuff, which has put a lot of pressure in terms of confidence in crypto being destroyed right now. People obviously aren't happy with the prices of the cryptos. We've seen a lot of the altcoins really start to break down, like Cardano's just keeps going lower and lower. And I think that for the most part, now I'm watching the stock market as a key indicator. And if that really starts to break down, that fear will then permeate into crypto and probably take it down as well. So I think that's really where I am, is that, it'll start out slow and then it'll probably gain momentum as fear starts to build, right? As you see the stock market dropping, more and more people get more fearful, then crypto starts dropping, and the lower it goes, it creates that reactionary fear factor that will then build the snowball down the mountain, if you will. So I think, again, for me, it's still downside. The chart is still, you still had that drop of FTX. And then since then, we've traded inside of the lower 50% of that drop, which is a bearish pattern formation. So you got to think that at some point there'll be a down move. The only thing that, that I was talking about with someone today is that, in the stock market, you have these what's called rip your face off rallies, where the stock market in a bear market will have these huge moves in the opposite direction. And we really haven't had that in crypto from the top. You had bearish, choppy, sideways action, but you never had that mega rally. And it's just kind of interesting to me. And I'm not sure why that's not occurring in crypto, but it does occur in other asset classes. Or maybe it's just this cycle.
That's a good question. Maybe it does fit into the whole cycles changing, right? A lot of people have thought that the 4-year cycle kind of out the window now, and things have changed. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I want to see from you guys. That's why we're here for T8 Thursday, right? What are you guys seeing in the charts for Bitcoin? And then we're going to be covering Ethereum as well about what's happening. What's to expect, right? What's like realization of people keep their expectations of, what are we going to be seeing here in the next couple of weeks? Do people still have time to dollar cost average if they're not traders? If they are traders, what are they expecting here for the end of the year?
Well, one thing I'll say that I'll touch on that you just said, do people still have time? Just so you guys know, you always have time. The market's going nowhere. So don't panic. Don't do anything rash. Always kind of
Just
like make sure. Yeah, well, you never know. It could go sideways. But even if it doesn't, understand that the market's always going to be there. You can come back to this, casino anytime you want. So don't feel the need to do anything just because one of us says so, or it's the end of the year, things like that. But in terms of, Bitcoin, it is sideways right now. However, I do have a timeline for a potential drop if it's going to happen. I'll show the chart on that. This is something I worked up weeks ago. If we're going to see a drop, to me, there is a timeline for it in the sense that we need to see it get underway in the next coming weeks. Otherwise, we're looking at a larger range and we could be doing something a little bit different. Let's get out to a higher time frame. Let's go to the daily. Obviously, that quarter two low, 17,567, still really important. But when we look at the overall structure from the prior range, I like to look at range expansions. And the reason I do is because they tell us quite a bit in terms of targets, but also invalidations. So when we're looking for something like this was an idea that I drew up after we made our C point here. Looking at this coming in between the 25th and the 15th of January. So a 20-day window, which is a really long time. But again, I want to emphasize that trading is not about perfection. It's about getting the idea correct. And if you're wrong, knowing where you're wrong. And where are we wrong here is that if you look at this from a structure standpoint, the reason it's so important to map these out, in my opinion, is you can go ahead and map off the old range right here into the B leg. And there is your region to reclaim, right? So you've immediately identified the X and the B point and said, if we get back above this, we're back inside the old range. We can start talking about further upside. However, we got a rejection there. We're still on track schedule-wise in terms of time. So for me, I'm still looking for downside as there's just been no reason to really be bullish. You've come up and you've back-tested every single range to date and failed, right? So if we were to come up and look at all these ranges, none of these are breaking to the upside. So for me, I'm still looking for that ultimate target down near 13,880 down to 10K. Maybe even deeper over time. But I do think that once we complete this, or if we complete it, I should say, there is no once because we don't know what's going to happen. But if this were to play out and we get a good bounce, I now have immediate targets. So it is back to the B leg. You're going to back test the range. That's the first target of a pattern like this when it does complete. So it gives a really nice trade, even if it's something like this. And it gives you, what is that, like 41%? You don't have to catch all of that. You don't have to limit into that area and say, I'm going to catch the exact bottom because that's a dangerous game to play. But a 41% move, you can certainly make money somewhere in between there. That's my current plan. Now, all that gets tossed out the window if we start reclaiming certain areas of the chart. Really starts with the December open, in my opinion. You go to the December open. We take a look at this on a monthly standpoint. You can see I have an alert on it. But if you just look at this, you say, well, the quarter two low is very important. So 17,148. There's every time frame almost has a major point of control coming in there as well, really kind of adding to the confluence that this is a big region to reclaim. But you can see you've closed down below here now on a monthly basis. You've now opened the monthly candle down below here, and you're looking at potentially back testing it and regarding it as resistance. So December open to me is the first etchings of maybe some kind of relief rally or at least further sideways. But otherwise, I am still looking out to the middle of January for some kind of a dump, I guess, for lack of a better term. But I won't go on too much more. I'll let you guys go from there.
So you're saying mid-January, possibly some type of dump action going on.
Yeah.
Could be that final flush out into the $10,000 area, and then is there a strong foundation at those levels, or are we most likely going to like blow right past that and
I would
you
be
know,
shocked if we blew through the area. I think if we're going to actually get a true bear market rally, we've front run a lot of major areas here on the chart, in my opinion, for resistance and support. I would like to see it hit. I don't think we're going to be there long. That's why I emphasize that the technical target of it is like a 41% move. You don't have to catch all of that to make money. You just have to catch some of it, make sure that your invalidation's good. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Jesse Livermore. You know, the insurance being late to a move is just insurance on the direction, so to speak. I think that's a really probably terrible summarization of his quote, but what he was basically saying is you don't have to, you know, try to catch the exact top or bottom to be correct on the direction. So for me, if it played out that way, it would be a little too perfect, but you know, again, we can only make plans and then react accordingly. So that's all I'm doing, is just trying to take good trades, especially in this environment. I'm really not that interested in further shorts from here. Like I closed my shorts already from, you know, the 18.5 pump there, or that's 18.375 pump. I already closed those because it's just not a great place to put on macro swing shorts, in my opinion. I've already got those in place, so I don't really feel the need to add any that I'm going to hold long term. I'm just going to basically take money from the market if I can, get back in when I see fit. I'm going to try to be a little more nimble towards the downside here, because we are getting to some important areas. You know, it is one of those things where, and none of us do know. Bitcoin is a history, and same with stock market. It can definitely, as Gareth said, rip your face off if you're not prepared. So,
question: you don't have to answer this if it's too personal, but do you still have your short from like 60K open?
yeah, it's 40K, but yeah, it's open. Yeah, I haven't touched it. It's one of those things where that's a hedge though, so it's a different type of trade. That is, I hold a lot of Bitcoin because I'm a believer in Bitcoin, and you guys have to understand, when you're holding a hedge, it's not necessarily to make a bunch of money. It's to protect yourself from drawdown, because I'm holding the asset. So I uploaded a certain percentage to an exchange to hedge against those losses that were potentially coming once I thought they were coming. And then I did add a little extra to make sure that I'm making money. It wasn't over the top. It was 6% capital, basically, that is going to be profit. And when it's all said and done, it'll over double my entire trading account, like across all assets. So very happy with that, but it's been a year-long process of waiting and not touching it. So
do you have a target where you'll take that hedge off, where you'll say, hey, listen, it's not worth hedging anymore?
Yeah,
Well, that's a good question.
$3,800, just
Wow.
underneath the COVID low. I've preset the close there. If that happens, I will gladly close that position. But until then, I'm just going to wait and make the charts tell me to close it.
Gareth, are you looking at those levels too?
I mean, that's basically that 3,500 area is like the worst case scenario for me with Bitcoin. Like if really things just get horrendous. I mean, basically I liken back to the .coms, and again, you know, it's so scary and eerie to look at the similarities and what happened with the .coms, the human mentality of like chasing crap, like literal crap, like companies, and just doesn't matter, just buy it, which is, you know, that's the same as with crypto.
Yeah.
And then when Amazon collapsed, it dropped 95%, and that would be the equivalent of about 3,500 on Bitcoin. Again, to me, that's like worst case. I'd rather it not do that. You know, I've already started to, you know, my first dip my toe. I dipped one of my toes in the water, essentially. So I'll buy every 3,000 down. But if it gets down that low, that would be like my last hurrah at buying some. And,
the last hill to die on.
yeah, the Alamo, right? Just go with it.
I agree with Gareth, though. If something like that happens when we go to 3K, I think we discussed this on our channel a while back, and we've discussed it on other shows. It's just, if it goes to 3K, you got to think what the traditional markets are doing and the state of the economy probably is. Like, it's going to be a great accumulation period for those that are, you know, prepared and have the excess funds. But there's going to be some serious macro issues, you know, if price does actually get down to that region. We may not see another all-time high in quite some time, kind of like after the .com era.
Yeah, and I think that's such an interesting thing, because I feel like the most crypto investors, they're like, in their mind, they're like, okay, where's the bottom? Because then in a year we'll be at 100K, right? And in reality, you could literally have, I mean, the NASDAQ didn't make new all-time highs for 15 years after it topped out. And so, but the thing is, what's crazy, if it goes to 3,500 or let's say even 4,000, I mean, you could still make triple your money by it just, you know, back to 20,000 is a massive percentage move. So there's still money to be made, but you know, you just have to look at these past things. And I mean, if you go back to the Great Depression, I don't think the market, the stock, the Dow Jones did not make a new all-time high till like the 1950s. So like it was like over 20 years. And again, I'm not saying that that's where we are, but investors are always very short-sighted in terms of, you know, how quickly can I make money? How quickly can it go back? And you just have to be prepared as an investor that it may not be that easy.
Quick question, and we can jump back into the charts and stuff. With that being said, right, the S&P 500 or the Dow, right, now making all-time highs for years. Let's imagine that is a scenario. We do drop down to a $3,000 Bitcoin. You know, stock market is trashed. Takes years, like you said, right? Years for 20 years or so for these markets to make all-time highs again. Can the crypto market? Do you think the crypto market can they make an all-time high without the stock market making all-time highs for 20 years, or is it going to be kind of a parallel movement?
It's an interesting question. I'll be honest with you. Can it make an all-time high without the stock market? I think
Yeah.
I think assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum can. I don't know about the rest of them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think that they could decouple and do their own thing. We're not quite there yet, obviously, but I think that timeline is coming eventually where they're their own assets and they maybe correlate to other things. But I don't know that the altcoins are going to fare so well in that scenario. I think that's
Agreed.
what people don't realize is, these small caps and stuff, these are essentially startups. They're going to get purged, and it is what it is. The stock market is kind of like crypto, I guess, even is a zero-sum game. So
Yeah, I know. I agree with that. I think that's exactly what people have to understand is that I do see this pivot in Bitcoin at some point where it does become more of a safety asset where, you know, you get the economy that's stuck in a really bad recession for years. Earnings are going down. So companies, you know, stocks are going down because their earnings are going down. But then you have an asset with, assuming we get transparency from some regulation, it becomes that digital gold. And I do think people look to hide in it as it could be an asset that goes up. But like Magic's saying is like, you know, you have these coins that have some use case, but a lot of it's based on economic activity, right? I mean, it's like how many projects are being started? Can they get funding? All these type of things. And then that's where you run into it where, yeah, I agree. I think like you got to stick with best of breed. Otherwise you really risk.
Yeah, definitely. The altcoins, I don't think will be able to survive uh, a scenario like that where stock market gets wiped out, Bitcoin gets wiped out to like 3K. Altcoins, that would definitely be the moment where the altcoins go bye bye, and only the top of the cream,
Yeah.
really survive. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and maybe one or two other ones out there, but the majority will probably die out at that moment. So, with that being said, Gareth, talking about ETH. What do you got for ETH, man? What are you seeing there? I mean, I know ETH has been kind of doing its own thing from Bitcoin lately.
Yeah. So let me show my charts here. We'll take a look at ETH and see what we got here. So to me, yeah, I mean, ETH is just chopping sideways here. FTX drop. So far, we've just been chopping kind of inside of that range. I think in the very short term, I like the fact that this little low held. You got this little reversal candle. And even in spite of a pretty big stock market drop today, it kind of has gone sideways on the daily chart. Maybe that's showing us a little bit of a bounce coming up with a little bit of a micro bullish consolidation pattern. That's very short term, though. But the bigger pattern remains the same. And just like Bitcoin, you know, it has this bearish consolidation where at some point I would expect it to retest the June low at around 875. And potentially if Bitcoin's going down much, much lower, we could be looking at these levels. This is kind of where I've isolated down for myself, where I would start to buy positions that I potentially hodl a little bit. You know, if we get down in that 600 and a quarter range all the way down to about under 500. So, you know, again, it's one of those things where I still think that it's not worth shorting. And I think Magic kind of alluded to this prior, is that, you know, if you were to flip this chart upside down, like on Bitcoin, you'd be basically, it would be where you were buying Bitcoin at like 60,000, right? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Too much of the downside's already in, but at the same time, you have to be prepared that it can still go lower, and you kind of want to be careful about that, right? So, it's one of those, I think, nimble trading opportunities. I wouldn't go short, but I'd be buying for swing trades or quick little trades, these key levels. And then you get down in that 500-ish range. And I think that's where you start to just tuck some away.
Yeah, dude, that 500, I still can't wrap my mind around that, dude. A $500 Ethereum, that is wild that is possibly on the cards. But I agree with you guys that my biggest fear is that the majority of the downside is already in. And it's like, are we reaching that 100K myth, right? Where everybody thought we're going to hit 100K, we're going to keep going, and then we actually don't. So I don't know, right? That's why I rely on you guys and what you guys are seeing.
And
Magic,
I mean,
you had
for
something to
me,
say? Oh, go
no,
ahead.
I was just going
Go
to
ahead.
say, for me, like the biggest turnaround, and it's the potential biggest landmine for crypto, but it could be the best thing for crypto, is that you get regulation. And I know regulation has been like the scary word for so long. But at this point, like, I mean, even me, I'm hesitant to put too much money into crypto, into my crypto on exchanges right now. And again, for me as a trader, I'm not like, it's not like I'm going to take it off the exchange because I don't want to hold it like that. I want to be nimble, be able to be in and be out. But at the same time, I don't feel comfortable putting, $500,000 on any exchange. So it just kind of creates a scenario where I'm a small fish compared to some of the big whales out there. And I'm sure they're feeling the same way until there's rules and regulations that they have to, these players have to abide by. I just think there's this like big kind of X on crypto at this point to keep people away.
Yeah, no, that's 100% correct. As far as like putting money on an exchange, I can tell you as someone who primarily trades cryptocurrency, it's just, I even took a little bit of drawdown from the 19K range to pull money off of exchanges because you just don't know, And the issue with me is I use Bybit and I can't KYC, so I'm limited on how much I could pull off. It was 2 Bitcoin a day. Now it's 20,000. So when I go to close that short, Miguel, I'm going to have to go to Dubai and see my buddy and have him KYC the account to get it off because it'd take me years to get that money off there.
Wow, dude, that's wild.
It's not ideal. But these are some of the things that we face as, traders. I got myself into the situation, so to speak. And so got to get myself out of it, I guess.
I would hope like, whenever regulation does come through, I really would hope that would be one of the things that they would fix is that like how can, if you have your money and it's under your name in any account, I mean, like imagine going to like Chase Bank and they're like, oh, you have like $10 million here, but you can only have 20,000 a day. It's like, that's ridiculous. And so like, I mean, I'm hopeful that maybe the regulation is like, no, you can't say you can't take that amount of money. I understand it has to do with KYC and all that stuff. But yeah, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, no, I agree. The space definitely needs some maturing. It is what it is though. We're working on it.
So Magic, earlier you said that you had a chart for Matic.
I do.
What let's take a look at that. Let's see what you got.
So I saw some Matic chat in the comments there, so that's exciting. There's guys that were primed for it. But yeah, so Matic was a really simple idea. So I actually presented this idea back on, I believe it was the 25th of October. So about right here that we were looking for this zone. You can see up here, this box. Basically, this is a log scale chart. You could also do it in linear, but just throw up a fib channel to kind of divide it up so you can see where you should be looking for entries and where you shouldn't be, trying to predict the trend a little bit. Looking for an AB equals CD or basically a trend ending move, which we did get. If you take it out of log, it's even more pretty for lack of a better term, but it is an identical and symmetrical move. So exact one-to-one. Things that as a harmonic trader that you kind of dream of, right into resistance, right into an old SFP of a prior range. I believe it was right here. You can see that. I'll make it bold so you guys can see that anyway. Right there. So you can see you've just back tested the old breaker of the prior range. And you've come into some Fibonacci targets. So looking for downside. So for us, the idea was to come up to here and then trade it back down. You probably see some boxes beneath me and this one right here. So this is actually a really important area around 92 cents and 93 cents. So let's say there is going to be any kind of a rally. Should you be FOMOing into this? I would be a little bit cautious just because the overall point of control of this area should be coming in there, if I recall, right here. And you can also see that that's going to be a resistance on both the daily, weekly, and monthly time frame. So for me, this is an area that has to be reclaimed for me to consider any kind of a bullish upside. And even then, I'm just looking to see if we can't take this prior local high in that scenario. But for me, I'm looking down to 45 cents over time. This is a quarterly level. This box right here comes between 44.86 cents and 48.08 cents. That's the area that I'm looking to tinker with again. And I think that that's a valid target. It's just a matter of patience. I think a lot of people lack that in this market. We look at these charts every day. We get excited about these coins because people are always looking at the news. They go to their Twitter feed. Everyone loves Matic. I just watched an interview with Gareth and I don't remember the other gentleman's name, but you guys did touch on communities a little bit. And it's something that I've mentioned before. And you touched on how, once you start identifying as the project or as the company that you're investing in, there's a major problem there, and that's not to throw shade at anyone like XRP or HBAR or whoever that is, or the ISO 222. Matic's in the same boat. There are people that just love this asset, and the asset does not love you back. I just want to be very upfront about that, guys. It does not love you back. It will take your money. The market will, I guess I should say, not the asset, but just keep that in mind. So for me, looking at this from just a low time frame scenario, we come into our daily or monthly, quarterly levels here, start taking a look at it. You can see that you are coming into some regions of support. This needs to get extended out. Right here, you can see you're at support. However, the best trades come from deviations of the range. Would love to see this come down to 72.21 and 0.7006 cents. Maybe get a bounce there. That's your weekly swing failure pattern or your weekly breaker. I'll show you what that looks like. And that would be an area of demand that just has to absolutely hold. If you start losing this, you can see what's beneath you. There's really not much until you get back down to this box around 48, 45 cents. And that would be my next area of interest to trade off of. Maybe add to my bags. I actually added at the daily demand 2 zone. I don't know if I still have that box or not. I may have gotten rid of it. Yeah, they're right there. This was a target I gave you guys back in 2021, believe it or not. And this was the area that I filled, and I've begun taking profits up here, and I'm looking to add back in depending on what the chart does. The issue with it is we're in a macro downtrend, and I'm not saying it doesn't look good. Matic has been performing really well in comparison. However, you have the etchings of a weekly turnaround here. And so what I want to caution you with is when we go to log scale, you can actually see how there's really nothing beneath this demand zone. So if it does start to lose that area, let's say things get real bad in the markets, like we were discussing earlier, we start breaking down from 10K in Bitcoin, we head to that 3K level. I would fully expect Matic to make its way down to these single digit numbers.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not fun to talk about, but this is what I brought up on the 25th of October in our members update, is when you start looking at this from a structure standpoint, you've got your high, you've now got a low, you now have a potential lower high. And if it breaks through this region, you'll be cementing that high in the sense that this will now be a legitimate lower high, and you'll also have a lower low. So you see how you have a low, higher high, lower low, lower high. The next thing that you would expect to see is another lower low, right? Because a new trend has started on the weekly time frame. So you would be looking down. I think that would catch a lot of people off guard because this has been one of the darlings of the market, so to speak. So I am trading Matic. I'm not necessarily accumulating for like a bull run. I know that's not popular to say with altcoins and coins that have strong communities, but there's a lot of money to be made if you just trade the chart versus, hodling these things into the ground. Which eventually happens. And, to point out, I think Gareth had mentioned it in one of his streams or interviews, and he talked about how he thinks there's more pain to come because people really are very optimistic still in this market. And I 100% agree with that. There are still people that are just to the moon on some of these projects. And I'm like, man, we have not really flushed these people out yet. How have we not? We're down 80, 90%. But people get so emotionally attached to these investments, and they wear it like a badge of honor. And while I think it's great to do your research and to love the fundamentals of things, you just have to be careful because monetarily, the markets are the markets for a reason. It's just like XRP. I always say, like, how low does XRP have to go before these guys actually sell? Because that's when you get seller capitulation. It could go quite low. It doesn't mean it's a bad project. It just means that's how the market is going to operate,
And I think magic too. I think one of the issues within crypto where people are so willing to kind of hold on and believe even when things are down 80, 90% is that they've also watched these things go from like a penny to $1 in such a, a Dogecoin move over 0.00. So like in their mind, they're thinking, well, even if it's at 2 cents and I'm in at $1, like that could be a month of upside and I'm back in the money, right? Versus in reality, a lot of these things will just start going sideways for long periods of time.
That's a really good
Yeah.
point. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
very true.
Agree.
People talk about diamond hands on
Man, it's
XRP.
depressing, huh? This is depressing.
I know, sorry, I didn't mean to bring the whole chat down, guys.
No, I feel like all of us, you know, it's like,
I mean, it is what it is, right? That's the reality of the
Yeah.
markets, right? And that's what we're here to discuss is the reality is
Yeah, I
we
mean, what am I
wish things
talking
were
the
better,
charts?
but
I always tell people, I hope I'm wrong because I don't want to see, especially retail investors, get hurt because, you know, it's one of those things where a lot of times the amount of money they have in, unfortunately, is more than they can bear to lose, or, you know, it'd be devastating to them. So to me, I always hope I'm wrong. Like if I'm wrong and they make money and it goes up, good for them. Like I would never root against that situation. I stand to gain nothing from that, you know, in that mindset. So if I'm wrong, great, but it doesn't fit my risk model for investment. So I just kind of play by my own rules, and we'll see how the cookies crumble, so to speak.
yeah, dude. I mean, it's you can hope that you're wrong, but at the same time, if people are listening and they're preparing in case you are right and we do head lower, right? These are massive opportunities where you know people are going to make life-changing money. That's just how the money is made. The money is really made in the worst possible, scariest times. Those are the biggest opportunities, and you're not going to see those opportunities quite often and have as much potential upside like you can in the crypto markets for very much longer until you know things start to settle down and mature a lot more. So yes, it's scary. Yes, we don't want to hear about a $3,000 Bitcoin, right? But if that does occur, that would be a huge opportunity for when that eventually you know has a level of recovery. And you know just like Gareth says, right, the dot-com bubble, right, that was a massive opportunity for people that took advantage of that downward momentum that made life-changing money. Those are the opportunities that people need to be ready for. So hopefully you're wrong, but if you are right, hopefully people are preparing for that eventuality as well, right? You got to hedge your bets, right?
That
That's what
ties into what
investing
you
is
guys
all
do as
about.
preppers, man. As preppers, like you guys don't want you know, a disaster to occur, but if you're unprepared for one when it does, you know, the ramifications of that are pretty heavy. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly right. You. I don't want a hurricane, a Category 5 hurricane, to come to my house and blow my house away. But just in case, I'm gonna prepare for it. Right. If
Yeah.
it doesn't happen, I know I can sleep easy at night that I was prepared in case it did happen. But if it's a lot worse to not prepare for it, it happens, and then I've got nothing.
That's why they build houses with basements in the Midwest, man. We're not all banking on a tornado wiping out a town, but you know, the day a tornado does roll through, you're gonna want a basement. You know.
Yeah, man. Those are scary, man. Those tornadoes. I've seen some of the videos, man. Those things
Yeah.
freak me out, bro.
I've seen a handful that are like a mile, 2 mile wide before, pretty up close, like within a few miles of them. Just watch them go by and just rip up whole towns. Like there's a town that's just 7 miles from me that doesn't exist anymore. Literally every house is gone. So,
dude, that's
yeah.
why they just spawn. They just spawn out of nowhere. Like
that one was on the ground for 30 miles. That was one of the biggest ones that's come through. It was on the ground for 30 miles. So they knew it was coming. It's just usually they don't travel that far. It was just one of those kind of like freak accidents where it's like, oh, it'll eventually like, you know, dissipate. And no, did not. Headed straight for Kansas City, wiped out some small towns in between. And then right when it got to the speedway, it just kind of like pulled right back up and it was gone, but left a huge, you know, wake of devastation. So
dude, that's wild. That's why people always got to prepare, man. I mean, look at Fort Myers Fort Myers, Naples area just a few months ago. I was literally there in September. A few weeks later, poof, where I was at, the house is gone. Everything's gone. I was like, wow. That's why you always got to prepare, right? And not just in real life, but for the markets as well. Always prepare for either side of the coin, right? Whether they're going to go up or go down. That's what investing is about: risk management and understanding where we're going, right? And having a plan and executing that plan for whichever one becomes a reality. Gareth, any final words for the people?
Wow. Let me think about something more uplifting. Let's see here. So
Christmas is coming around the corner.
I'll throw out a couple things. So I think like if there's one positive that tells you like Bitcoin could be at least in its final descent period, I think you look at like the chart, and let me show my chart here again, and you look at something like the drops that came on the two big collapses in crypto, right? So this was the drop right here when Terra Luna collapsed. It was about a 45% drop in Bitcoin. And over here, this was the drop when FTX collapsed, which was about 25%. And again, when you look at it in terms of positive divergences, the FTX collapse was a bigger deal for crypto, right? More of a bigger earthquake versus Terra Luna, but the percentage drop declined. And what that tells me is that potentially people are kind of saying, okay, listen, this is going on, but we're now more used to it. We're factoring this into our Bitcoin thesis, and maybe this brings about good regulation. So little things like that kind of, it doesn't mean we're not going down, but it just shows us maybe we're closer to the end at least than the beginning, hopefully.
Exactly. How much worse could it possibly get, right?
Right.
Magic, any final words for the people?
I'm a family guy. I got kids just like Gareth and you. So one thing I would say is make sure you guys take time away from crypto, the charts, all that stuff. Enjoy time with your family. Those are the things that really do matter. Those are the people that matter. Like I said earlier, the Matic doesn't love you back, but your family definitely does. So make sure that you're spending time with them, making the most of it, and enjoying the holidays, because they only come once a year. I know we all kind of dread it because it's a bit of a rat race when they get here, but it is fun. It's fun to look back on. We always talk about them later in the year. So go into it with good spirits.
Yeah, dude, I 100% agree with you. Right? It's the memories that you make with your family that you're going to look back and remember. You're not going to be looking back and, be remembering what you were doing the crypto space 2 years ago on this exact day, right? But the times that you spend with your family members on the holidays, those memories are a lot more precious than anything happening in crypto. And it's a perfect time, right? Sideways market, kind of boring, nothing exciting, right? Perfect time to walk away and take a break.
Right.
So it's the holiday gift that nobody was expecting. Walk away from your computers, walk away from YouTube for a while, and go outside, touch some grass if you're in Florida, touch some snow if you're up north, and have a good time with your family. Guys, question everything, trust nothing. Until next time, hodl like a tot, and happy holidays, guys.